Welcome back to LotTalk. We are in episode number, John Ronaldo, where are we at? Number 7 now. We are episode number 7. My name is Chris Keene. I'm one of your co-hosts. Joining me today is my great friend, John Anderson, and my great friend, Mr. Ronaldo Leonard. We are here to bring all the WTF to take the suck out of the automotive industry. We're going to work the facts. We're going to bring you the best content out there. Why? Because we care. We want to make sure that our brothers and sisters in the automotive community have a place to come to find some relevant content as we navigate through this extremely crazy industry that we're in right now as it continues to evolve. We want to stay 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. And how we're going to stay 3, 4, 5 steps ahead is when we have great guests like we had a few weeks ago. And we're going to bring that person back here in just a few minutes to even dive deeper on some questions that we had, that our automotive community has. We want her to sit there and unpack those more. I don't know about you guys. John, Ronaldo, I'm super excited. Mr. Anderson, you tell me, how excited are you to have Stacey back?
It's always good, with the amount of information that she brings to the table about lead management and understanding CRMs and processes, right? Because anytime we can give that information to our dealer partners, we just find that, and I know a lot of times on this podcast, it's hard not to talk in generalities sometimes, right? Because you're trying with the amount of dealers that we work with, right? And I understand not everybody's in the same category, not everybody's at the same level, but I think you guys would agree, as you've worked with dealers across our dealer platform, one of the major areas, well, think about when you guys tell me, when we introduced the lead management to our software, you guys tell me what were some of the things that were come off the page immediately when we started looking at that data.
I mean, Ronaldo, you go first, because I'm gonna tell you there's about a million things that came off for me. But Ronaldo, what's some of the ones for you?
Well, after I dropped a Goodies headache powder or a Tylenol PM, thing that dropped off was just the fact that there's so many prospects that are in the CRM that just kind of fall through the cracks. Looking at, we just got off of a meeting about 20 minutes ago where you have a lead inside of the CRM and we haven't touched it in 26 days, or the thing that we get the opportunity to see is connecting those leads with the inventory and kind of fill in the gap where a lot of CRMs can create issues. And we're trained to spot them. But if they're looking through the CRM every single day, they may have looked at that lead 25 days in a row. Somebody will pick it up, or somebody will get to it. But it's just the inconsistency in making sure that we reach out to those folks who have suggested to us, or actually they're screaming at us, "Hey, I'm in the market. I want to buy that car." And we're just not engaged with them. So that's probably the biggest thing that jumps out to me every time I look at a new client's CRM.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that jumped off for me, John, was when we did that analysis of the amount of activity that a sales or BDC or internet person is doing that had nothing to do with selling a car.
Right.
When we saw 70 to 80% of the activity that a sales or BDC person or internet person was doing was call, texting, and emailing people that we didn't have a car to sell them. The car eventually was no longer in stock. We didn't have another piece of inventory to switch them to. Heck, it might have been Bob out of the service department that they just bought a car 3 weeks ago and the green P upped them and didn't realize. I mean, it was mind blowing. But to Ronaldo's point of, we got all these customers that were not calling in 26 days, but yet just yesterday we called, text, emailed this customer that doesn't mean it's priority. And that was mind blowing for me. That 70 to 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and to your point, Chris, it's hard to, as we realized, right, the more we got into it, those guys and gals were just doing what their processes were outlined in the CRM, right? Task management, right? But I think that's where the epiphany rolled out for us is it more about task management, or is it more about inventory management combined with lead management, right? And that's where I think the light bulb went on for our CEO, Jason Rice, and the team, right? It's more about inventory management through lead management, right? We're always going to, and as we always say, the three of us, we're not downplaying. Last thing I want to come across is we're, hammering CRMs or anything. Like, we're not. It's just, what is the most efficient way to consistently sell cars at your dealership? Well, think about your bricks and mortar, right? If you had customers on your lot and customers in your service department that were your previous customers that were getting their car serviced, would you go back and talk to those customers in the service department to say hi to them and say, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while, I want to come back and say hi? Or would that customer on your lot take priority over that, right? After I talked to that customer on the lot, I'd come back and check for my previous customer back in the service department and say hi, shake hands, and say, hey, just wanted to touch base with you. I saw you were back here. It's great to see you, or whatever. But your first priority would be that customer standing on your lot looking at a vehicle that I could potentially sell today. And that's what the epiphany was for us when we looked at that data. It was like, oh my gosh, man, we're not talking to the customers that are standing on our virtual lot. We're talking to our customers that are sitting back in service that have already bought a car from us, and they're, or having a birthday today, or whatever the case might be. Right?
Or Bob and Betty bought a car 3 years ago, and it's time to see if they're ready to trade again.
Right.
Is that important? Yes, it's important, but not priority.
Yeah. No, for me, it was always reaching out to Bob and Betty to make sure they're bringing through that Christmas fudge. You want to stay in touch with them.
The peppermint fudge.
Well, but I think it all just kind of stemmed from that old mantra that activity breeds activity, and we lost that laser-like focus on which activity is most important and most productive.
Well, and John, you said something, and I want to make it very clear because our listeners are broad. It could be a rep from a CRM company, a rep from an inventory management company, salespeople, GMs, GSMs, owners. It doesn't matter. Other third-party companies out there. I want to be very, 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 very crystal clear on this. We actually don't care which CRM a dealership uses. And quite frankly, we make all CRMs stickier. And as a matter of fact, if we recognize that a dealership isn't using this CRM to its fullest capacity, click to call, texting from the CRM, things of that nature, we're calling them out and we're pushing the dealership to use this CRM that they have to its fullest capacity. So quite frankly, we are your ally. All we're doing is just serving up the lowest hanging fruit so the dealership can use the CRM in the way that it's designed to be used, and not to simply just stop a clock or a hodgepodge here and there. So I want to make sure that we drive that home very closely. And if any of our listeners out there are from a CRM company, hey, drop your information. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, drop your information down in the contact area, or in the comment area. We would love to connect with you and find out how we can better serve you as a representative from your respected CR company that you work for, how we can better help serve you and continue to partner with you to get that activity going inside your dealerships to use your CRM exactly like it's supposed to be used. So definitely drop your information down in the comment area. We would love to connect with you. Well, you know what?
There's a lot.
I can't stand it. I can't stand it any longer, guys. I
Well, let's
love
go.
you two.
Let's roll.
I love you
Let's
two.
roll.
I really do. But hailing from the great state of West Virginia, our friend, our
True mountaineer.
colleague, she is a mountaineer. Okay. Stacey Ellison. Stacey, good morning. How are you? Welcome back, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
So I was going to say, Ronaldo, why don't you kick us off? Your question was morphed from some of your thoughts, some of what Stacey brought up, and then also some of what you've heard, some questioning from our dealer partners out there. Your question for Stacey is fantastic. I love it. Why don't you kick the party off?
Okay. So Stacey, I've had a couple of dealerships that I've kind of urged to be a little more creative in their hiring practice, because we always hear, I can't find good people. And so my suggestion was to kind of think outside of the box, come at it from a different direction. Look at your target, who you'd like the type of people you'd like to hire. And then what type of approaches do you need to change from what you've been doing in the past to kind of create an environment that's going to foster encouraging those people to apply. And one of the things that we came up with was looking at a remote situation where we could have individuals that were working from home. Remote hiring is it's the new call room, so to speak. And so with that being in mind, what would be maybe 3 best practices that you could suggest for dealers in that situation on how they could be or stay engaged with that BDC situation that's operating from several remote employees?
So I have a couple of dealers that have a couple of people that work from home,
Mhm.
and they do a great job. There is constant communication, such as, midday and the end of the day. There's something as simple as a group text,
Yeah.
right?
Just to check in. Yeah.
Yeah, just, but the main thing is the accountability with somebody at home. I know it's going to be not a lot, just a little bit more work than if that person was in store, because we need to make sure that person is not at Starbucks, is not doing their grocery order, etc. So for the folks that work remote, what I tell my dealers is you have got to have call tracking. It's just non-negotiable. Somebody can sit in a CRM and just complete a call all day long, which they can at the dealership as well. But that would help with a lot with the communication. So we can hear and see what they're doing. They might not have as many as the benefits for continued training as inside of the dealer, but at least we have the calls to hear and see what they're doing. So for the ones that I have work from home midday and at the end of the day, we have a group text where they tell us what they did for the day, not us tell them what they did for the day. I think it just adds a little bit more of accountability, and we call it either the walk of fame or the walk of shame. So in my BDC, when I ran it, I didn't write your numbers on the board. You're walking to the board to put your numbers on the board.
Yeah. Ooh.
So
I
have everybody tell me what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I already know what you did because that's my job to look.
Right.
But I think it provides that little bit of extra accountability and just the check-in with, like you guys said, I'm not here to bash a CRM, but there's not a CRM that has a report that I'm in love with. Just one report. There's not. The data is not all accurate. So we have specific Google Docs that we ask them to fill out midday and at the end of the day.
Oh, okay. Love that.
And they've got to be included. They have to be included. If you have a morning meeting, let them screen share in. If you have something they can call in, we can't just act like they're in a closet somewhere because they're not on site. And I think that's the biggest mistake some dealers do, is say, oh, she's over here on site. She's fine. Her job is to make calls. And that's not correct. They have to be kept in the loop of our new marketing, any process changes, and they need to feel like they're part of a team. And sometimes they don't if they're at home.
Right. So what I hear you saying is that, I mean, it's not dissimilar from having them on site and in
No.
one room, because you always have to openly communicate with them.
Yes.
You always have to give them a sense of accountability to what they're
Yes.
doing. And then you also always have to include them, as
Yes.
a group.
Yes.
And so I guess from what I understand you're saying is just use the technology that we have to just extend a room where you
Yes.
would have those people normally working, but just make sure that you put forth the effort to
Yes.
manage it the way that it deserves to be managed.
Yes.
Okay.
Because oftentimes we put people in a remote working situation that are great employees, and they're going to do everything you ask them to do, and they're going to perform well. But then a month or 2 or 3 months later, we kind of forget about them. And sometimes through no fault of their own, a little complacency can kick in, a little, feeling of underappreciation can kick in. So I think those employees need a little bit more motivation and recognition sometimes that our in-house employees do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all worked from home from COVID. Some people loved it. I struggled. I struggled really, really, really bad. I flew to Texas one day for 24 hours just to eat and come home after 60 days. I said, I can't do this. So constantly having them as if they were in the dealership, just in another room, is the mindset that I have. Hey, Ronaldo can't walk in the room right now. He's doing this from his office. So if we just convince ourselves that they are here,
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes the communication a lot easier.
Ah, that's great. Great advice. Not surprised. Yeah, but I'm glad that you shared that and that our listeners are able to kind of absorb that and take that in. Yeah, fantastic.
Hey,
Yeah, I
Hey,
Stacey.
Stacey.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Anderson.
Sorry about that, Chris. Hey, Stacey.
You're fine, buddy.
Just as a little bit of follow up on what you said, just for our dealers that may not use one or have ever used one, give us a little bit deeper drill down on the call tracking and what that actually does for a dealer, and how they can leverage that in the way that you were talking about.
So I'm familiar with most of the call tracking companies out there, and surprisingly, they're very affordable. So with my job, I use it as a coaching tool, not a, you did a bad job, you did nothing like that. It makes it easier specifically for your remote workers because we can't hear them. We don't know what they're doing. And we can coach on that every day, and we can tell them, hey, you guys are doing a fantastic job here. And that kind of will play into that extra motivation that they need, the extra appreciation, the extra inclusion that they need.
Mm-hmm.
It's also for full transparency. How many times have you guys been at a dealership and a customer come in and said, well, I talked to John and he said this.
Right.
He said this, he said that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not to confront the customer, and it's not to confront your employee, but it's kind of, it's a learning tool for us as well. And you know what else it does when we have the call tracking? If I give dealership material to use, I can actually hear the feedback of the customer. Instead of saying, hey, John, how are your customers responding to what I told you? What are they saying? What are they, I can only do so much there. But the call tracking is so affordable. The recorded calls are right there in the customer profile, dated, time stamped. There's no, I made 100 phone calls today and didn't get a hold of anyone. It's foolproof.
Now, can you also, I assume that you can also use that from a training perspective for that particular rep to listen to how they handle themselves on the calls?
Yes, because we have a grading sheet, and my grading sheets are phase 1, 2, and 3. So phase 1 is beginning, phase 2 is intermediate, and phase 3. So we're not going to expect you to be perfect on phase 1. And basically phase 1 looks like, did you verify the name? Did you overcome the objection? Did you ask for the appointment correctly? Did you offer flexibility like you and I have talked about in word tracks before? Just the basic stuff. And then phase 2 is a different grading sheet. Phase 3 is a different grading sheet. And again, I have the agents listen to the call and they fill out their own grading sheet. Then I fill out the grading sheet. And oftentimes than not, they're harder on themselves than they should have been.
Yep.
If I fill it out, there's a little bit of, well, the customer said this and there's just, and I just don't have time for that. So I've just found that I think it's easier for all parties involved if they fill it out themselves. How did you think you did? And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, I have to say, stop being so hard on yourself. You did a really, but those are the people that when they fill it out themselves, they want to get better. They want to try, which goes back to putting the right people in the right positions.
That's exactly what you'd want to see. That I don't want to be in too hard on themselves, but at the same time, by that they're holding themselves accountable. So that's good. That's good stuff.
I have an internet manager, one of the best internet managers I have. I mean, he's amazing. And we do the call grading forms and the employee evaluation forms like that. And he has a philosophy that he shared with me 6 months ago. And the grades are from 1 to 5, right? You're on a scale from 1 to 5. If you're a 5 in my department, you don't need to be in here. We got to fast track you to management. Maybe there's a different position for you. But if you're all 5s all the time, based on what I hear and the employee hears, then maybe we need to fast track you to a leadership position or something else, because his philosophy is not to be down on his people, but every single person walking the earth today has room for improvement.
Absolutely.
In at least 1 or 2 categories on the grade form or the employee evaluation form.
Absolutely.
And it always leaves room because, and then again, if you're constantly at 5s, you're just there. So when you put that 4 in there and that 4 in there and that 4 in there, they will tell you what they can improve on. They'll just spill the whole beans and your job is done for you.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Stacey, one last question before we move on to the next around this piece you're talking about. You talked about this constant communication with a remote individual or groups of individuals. Talk to us and tell us the frequency of that constant communication. What messaging or check-ins, what does that look like? I know it sounds real simple to, hey, you should constantly communicate with your folks that, we're sitting over in, Toe Jam, Texas, and you're sitting in, Rocky Top, but what does that look like? Hey, Bob, how you doing? Or, hey, share with me your number. What does that look like?
So it starts with discipline. I mean, you guys have to do the schedule that I'm about to tell you every single day, day in and day out, like you would take a shower, like you would eat your breakfast. You just have to do it. So, how dealers have their morning meetings. We always start with a morning. And it's what happened yesterday. What do we need to work on today? Hey, you did a great job. Is there anything I could do for you? So it's every single morning. And we might have a few pieces in there. This is the traffic we had yesterday. These are the missed appointments we had yesterday. Whatever yesterday looks like, and you go over. And then we set our goals for the day, every single day. What are your goals for the day? Do you need my help reaching those goals? So then again, in the morning phone call, we discuss the day, any issues, we go over any feedback. I'm just going to tell you what I do, and people either love it or hate it, and that's okay. But in my internet sales departments and BDCs, a lot of them do a role play group session every single day for 15 minutes. Some of my high level ones, I will allow them to get away with that 3 times a week. So about 11 o'clock, when we're winding down just a little bit from the morning, we're going to have a role play session. We're going to throw objections out. We're going to throw, what did we hear yesterday? What have we heard more this week? Because the objections since November have changed. I've got 3 stores where for 2 months I heard, I'm just researching, and now it's best price. All of a sudden, just flipped a switch. So midday, whatever is happening in that department needs to happen remotely. And then depending on the shifts, your schedules, what have you there, the last hour and a half of someone's shift, we reconvene again. That might be via email, it might be via text. Because I'm not going to wait until the end of your shift to tell you if you're on or off track. That's just not good leadership and management there. So, and these can be three sentence conversations. Ronaldo, you got an hour and a half left on your shift. I see you're about 25 calls short. You're an appointment set short. How can I help you? What are you running into?
Right.
So you're there to help them. You're there to include them, but they also know that you're watching. But then you have to deliver on what they need too. So we check in with the remote employees 3 times a day. The first one might be a little longer, 15, 20 minutes. Midday is going to be 5 to 10 minutes. Last hour and a half is going to be about 5 to 10 minutes. And then we set the last hour and a half up for what we want to achieve tomorrow.
That last piece, I really like that. Grabbing that at the end of the day, but not the end, that last hour and a half, recapping, hey, here's what we said for our daily goal, and you're not on track to hit that. What can I do to help?
Yes.
I love that. I think that's fantastic.
And people will look at it like 3 times a day. If I have to, somebody said to me, if I have to check in them 3 times a day, they might as well be here. And it was a little shocking to me because I'm like, that's your employee. Like
Yeah.
You check in with your dog more than 3 times a day, but you can't check in with the one thing that's going to make or break your business. So I was speechless there for a minute, which doesn't happen often.
You check your Facebook feed more than 3 times a day.
Yeah.
That's 3 times an hour.
Right.
Stacey, I got to say, if you were speechless, I know that hits you hard.
That's why I said I know it happened rare, but I was like, it was almost like you do these things in-house. They can be done remote. Like you said, they can. It's just, do you want to put the time and effort in?
Right. Hey, dealers, anybody that's listening or watching, I hope you caught something that Stacey said in that last commentary about the objections changing.
Oof.
It's gone from I'm just looking to what's your best price. Dealers around this time of year, every year, within the next week or two, we start to see shopper counts start to increase in markets. So think about that shift in objection that's coming across. They're getting ready. So you guys make sure that you're on point and ready to go, because customers are, I caught that right away when you said that, Stacey. It's shifted from, I'm just gathering information to now what's your best price. So kind of see that wave coming. So to me, that's exciting. I'm glad to hear that they're asking that question. So
yeah, it's real exciting.
Yeah.
Stacey, question number 2 is actually my question. It was around hiring, and I loved when you talked about that the last time we had you on. It was around that hiring process that you had when you were inside the dealership. What does that actually look like? Because the piece I really loved when you said, you did the whole phone interview, you did the email interview, but then now we're going to do the in-person. The part that I really was wanting you to unpack a little bit more for our listeners, for our viewers, when you bring somebody into the dealership, you talked about subjecting them to the department that you're hiring them for. What does that look like in terms of you're subjecting them to it? Explain what that looks like. If they're just sitting there observing, if you as the hiring manager are pointing out things, explain that whole process to us and the length of it, how long that process is.
When I bring them in for an in-person interview, I tell them, please be prepared to stay an hour, right? So if I'm hiring for a BDC department or internet sales department, I will bring them back there. I will place them and let them sit by my top performer for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I disclose what I want this interviewee to look for. So I tell them, I want you to watch the amount of multitasking it takes for this job, because we're having a conversation, we're typing, we're looking up things, because anybody can tell you in an interview they can multitask, right? So I tell them, I give them a list, while you're sitting here, these are the things that I want you to look for. I want you to listen for tones of voices. Do you know what else I ask my applicants to do? When you are sitting with my top performer and they are on the phone with a customer, I want you to close your eyes and listen. So we can hear more when our eyes are closed. Our other sense that we can actually hear the tone of voice. We can hear hesitation. We can hear, because when I listen to recorded phone calls, guys, I close my eyes. It's super weird to watch me do it in person, but I do. So I have them sit for about 10 to 15 minutes with the top performer. If I have a newer person in that department, maybe one that is not yet up to par with the top performer, I'll also have them sit with that one, because then they're going to know right off the bat, who would I rather sound like? Who would I rather be? Again, it makes my job easier if we decide to hire you, because you're already coming in with the mindset. I like that guy. That's what I want to sound like. And I tell the applicants, you're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, because we may not be a right fit for you as much as we want you here, and vice versa. So for the next, after they listen for about 15 minutes, that's when I do the in-person interview. I don't start out with an in-person interview. I let them observe, and then we ask them, hey, what did you like? What did you think? If you were a customer, what would have been your feedback or your feelings on the conversation that took place? This is really important, because you don't know this business, or, maybe you've been out of it for a little bit. So I'd like to get that feedback too. So after I interview them for about 30 minutes, and I'll take them back out for 15 minutes and let 15 minutes, let them sit again. And I tell them, I know it was overwhelming the first time you did it, and then we've had a chance to chat. Now I want you to go back out come with me for about 10 to 15 minutes. It is extremely challenging for me, after all of these years, to explain the job of an internet sales rep or BDC agent over the phone to someone who's never done it. I don't know that I'll ever get good at that. I can tell you what the job is, but I think this is where we get some turnover in those specific departments, is we try our best to explain it, but we don't show it. So just like training, I've tried to model the interview process around training. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you, and you're going to show me 3 times.
That's strong.
I want to add something on that. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last time, but I'm going to tell you guys, I would strongly, highly suggest and would do backflips over, starting into the new year. Let's start it off right. Please do these personality tests for your applicants. They are worth every penny. And if you're already doing them, have your staff redo them every 6 months to a year. We can all interview well, but then we have this turnover. And then 2, 3, 4 months in, hey, so-and-so is not doing this. Stacey, are you there? Yeah, but I don't know what you want me to do with that information. I'm not HR. I'm not what do you want me to So we have a lot of vendors being approached with behavior issues now. I'm sure you guys get it. Well, I can't get so-and-so to call these. I can't get. I mean, I would, $20-$30 for a personality test to invest in the biggest asset or expense of your. I would strongly urgently do it. We used to do handwriting analysis tests, and mine was just spot on. So I think that's something that we've got to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you use that? I mean, you're looking at every 6 to 9 months, Stacey. How are you applying what you've learned from the personality test? How are you applying that to the coaching or to the shifting of how we need to support and lead our individual members of our team.
So we do individual action plans. Are they time consuming? Yes. Have Courtney and I stayed up till 2, 3 in the morning doing them for every employee? Yes. Because there's one thing that I learned with my own kids is people process information differently.
Mhm.
You know, like I have one of mine that we I mean, he held him back in the 8th grade. He was failing he panicked when it came to test time, but he could tell you the answers, right? So we do not look at things as a group. I mean, why wouldn't we sit with that person and do an individual action plan, whether it takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, etc. But it all goes back to if you have your call grade forms, if you have your employee evaluations that for some reason we just stopped doing, when it comes time to do your individual action plan, your data and everything you need to pull together for that person is right there in a file folder.
Mhm.
But instead, we just run these reports out of a CRM based off performance. Well, why are they not performing? Is something going on in their personal life? Is, you know, you got to peel that layer of the onion back. I had a girl one time, my GM was like, Stacey, she's been late 20 times this month, 15, 20 minutes. She's got to go. I said, Joe, let me talk to her. Fantastic employee. Turns out her car had broke down. She didn't want to tell anybody and was walking 5 miles to work every morning.
Wow.
Mm.
I said, do you want on our evening shift? Because we had 11 to 8. And she just teared up and was like, you would do that for me? Absolutely. And her performance in a week just shot through the roof.
Wow.
So we have to take that little bit of time when we get those evaluations and say, what has shifted? You know, this was the result 6 months ago. This was the result now. And again, the way I grew up in the car business, if there's a problem, the first place you better look is the mirror. And you work with that person as an individual, because if you can't put in just a little extra time in a person, you know how expensive it is to rehire and constantly rehire.
Oh yeah.
But if you're doing the work first, right? Your call grade forms, your employee evaluation forms, your individual action plan has built itself for you in a file folder.
Wow.
That's wow. Okay, first and foremost, I'm going to probably speak for John, Brett, Ronaldo, myself. Thank you for punching us in the gut, Stacey, because we don't do that.
No, we don't.
Well, we don't do that on paper.
Right.
And so we don't have anything to look back on. We meet an individual, make an assessment, make our mental notes, but we don't have that written down from that prospect's point of view.
Yeah, like I went to a dealer and they say the internet department says, well, every morning in the meeting we tell the manager, we tell the GM, we tell the sales managers that these are the customers we need help with, and it never gets done. I said, well, why aren't you filling out save-a-deal sheets on paper? So I built them a save-a-deal sheet, and I'm going to tell you right now, in 3 days, call Rick about this, John. It was Rick's store. In 3 days, my first visit there, they had saved 6 deals in 3 days from filling out a piece of paper.
Wow. Well, back to that evaluation. I know that in the past, when I was trained on which ones to use and what to look for, it was valuable for me to kind of get some insight into how I could best serve this person on a daily basis and help them achieve their goals. What is it that that you see as the biggest asset in having that documented, done on a regular basis, beyond just putting together a work plan? What type of insights do you gather from it that that could help the performance, overall of the entire team?
So it's going to tell you one thing, because those forms are going to tell you with time, not a long period of time, but not too short a period of time, if that employee, let's say they're not performing well, is a behavior issue or a training issue. Having things on paper, documented, facts, not feelings, makes decisions easier for management. So on paper, it's, Ronaldo was a 2 out of 5 for 90 days, but he's so nice, and he brings us snacks and, you know, he shows up to work on time, and it doesn't match on paper. Paper takes the emotion out of decision making.
Mhm.
Because sometimes the hardest decisions we make are tied emotionally a little bit. Because I do like people that I've had to let go before or move them to a different position.
Hmm.
And you know what? Here's a conversation. So Ronaldo would come, but why, Stacey? But why? Because he was never given an individual action plan. He was never given an employee grading form. So through no fault of his own, now he's a little bit confused and upset. We didn't put it on paper. We didn't give him a plan
Mhm.
to help himself. And that's just not good leadership, in my opinion.
Well, your opinion is the majority. It's not the minority. So I can tell you that.
I'm going to tell you how long it takes. I did 46 yesterday, pulled up all my files. I did 46 individual action plans yesterday for the month of December, and it took me maybe 3.5 hours because I had my papers.
Got your papers.
That's it.
I
For
love it.
46 people. So I can help 46 people, and it only took me 3.5 hours. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. That's a huge investment. I mean, it's very little given to get exponential back.
Yes.
So yeah, I love that. Love
Yeah.
it, love it, love it. I want to move on to this third question because my God, we could talk about that for like the whole. John, I think we should have a whole segment about hiring and coaching employees and use Stacey's model. So I think we should do that one time.
I think we need to bring Stacey in and train us. What I think.
No kidding, right?
Absolutely.
You know, Stacey, you said earlier, John called it out a minute ago, how the objections have changed, you know, from November till now. And this actually segues perfect into the question that John, you know, had. And again, some of the things that we've been hearing from our dealer partners that have been inquiring about this, from not our dealer partners only, but the automotive community. A lot of people have been inquiring about this, and what you talked about, how the objection has changed from November till now. John's question, I think you're going to love this. John, fire away.
Well, last time you were on with us, Stacey, you brought up something, and it just confirmed, because we've been talking about the average customer and how many leads they send out when they come into the market, 12 to 15 average amount of leads, right? And I that shocked me. I thought, man, that sounds really high. I understand why they do it. Now that I'm a customer, I understand why they do it, right?
Yeah.
But with that in mind, how would you create, or how would you help your team or an individual rep create a unique or creative response that is going to be able to set themselves apart from those 11 to 14 other leads that are going out from those other reps? And then how would you what order would you put that response in? What would you do? Would it be, I think you addressed it last call, but I want you to address it again. I think you mentioned phone call. I'm always going to pick up the phone first.
Yes.
And then I'm going to, if they don't answer, I'm going to send an email, and then I'm going to let them know that I'm going to call them. I'm going to call them back. So
Yeah.
if you would address that just some more, because I know from being a customer myself now, not able to buy my vehicles through the dealership anymore. When I was a general manager, it was easy. I buy a car through the dealership. I can't do that anymore. I'm a customer now. So I know when I was looking for our Tahoe, how many leads I sent out and how many responses I didn't get back. Right. But for the ones that I did get back, as a rep, how would you tell them to set themselves apart?
So what we're going to do is we're going to call first. If you don't answer while I'm leaving you a voicemail, I'm sending you the text opt-in. That's multitasking. And then if you don't answer, I'm going to send you the email. We all know these OEMs like to get involved with what you have to have in an email and just, do the best you can. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to call you back about 15, 20 minutes later. And as far as the response goes, This is my opinion, and this is what I have found works for me. I was trained for years to, when the customer says this, you say this. When they say this, say this, say this, say this. And it never sat right with me. I was like, I'll do it because that's my job. But I think customers just want an explanation versus an answer. So explain to them how we came to that price. I mean, if you're going to price a vehicle and you're going to put it online, you got to man up and stand behind your price. You can't leave your BDC or your internet department to fight your battles for you if you're not priced right. So we just explain to the customer how we came up with that price. And we let them know, like mine, for example, says this, John, we have a computer system like every other dealership on the face of the planet has one. And it tells us what other dealers are selling this exact vehicle for. Same color, mileage, trim level, condition, etc. And we price ours a little bit lower to earn your business because that's how you found us online. They just want an explanation. People are frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think my husband figured out that works with me. It's not that I want an answer. It's just when I'm frustrated, I just want an explanation to feel good about my decision. And then you have got to have a strong why buy. We just redid all of our CDJR stuff. Stellantis came out with all new requirements for Q1. So we had to redo email templates, redo scripts, redo everything. And they will ding you 15 points in a mystery shop if you do not have a why buy. That's how important it's becoming. So because you're priced great, what do you have at the dealership that's going to benefit them? Do you have maybe a free loaner while their vehicle's in service? Can you deliver the vehicle to them at work during their lunch? Do you have a lifetime powertrain warranty included? I got a Texas store that has lifetime state inspection stickers, $10 oil changes, including diesels.
Wow.
So what do we have?
That's strong.
And stop telling stop telling the customer what the dealership is going to do for them. Tell them what you're going to do for them, because whether you're in a BDC, they don't know that you're not a salesperson right now. And then I think we got off track during COVID, picking up our listening cues. We're not listening to the tone of voice anymore. We're not listening. Is our customer flinching like this when they're asking a question? That can be challenging to train, but going back to recording the phone calls, that's how we train our people. Hey, did you hear the little hesitation in the voice? So I'm going to continue to answer your question, but I'm going to tell you what you guys were talking about earlier. I'm not calling the 2025 Corvette customer the same amount of times that I'm calling a customer that I have a unit in stock and 20 things I can flip them over to. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not here to bash CRMs either. Like, they've been extremely successful to me, but you log into a CRM and it tells you, well, this lead is 3 days old. You have to call it. We have to figure out how to prioritize our CRM. So in addition to the follow-up, yes, I'll put some standard follow-up in there, but I show these dealers how to prioritize that.
I'm glad you addressed that, because that was going to be, it wasn't in my initial question, but I was going to ask you, because I know you were sitting in the virtual green room while we started this call. And I know that you and I spent some time at Rick's dealership, and I know that I was kind of introducing you to the platform and some of the changes we had made. And that was one of the things I was showing you, is that the efficiency of, getting the salespeople or the BDC zeroed in on leads, on inventory and stock. And so I was just going to ask you, and I'm glad you went there a little bit. I was going to ask you if you had any commentary on our initial conversation about that, of just, zeroing in instead of, and again, I'm going to say, I know I'm not trying to take away from task and CRM, but not all those tasks have to do directly with selling a car for that day. So
So I'm going to tell you what I did after you and I chatted.
Yeah.
And I had some couple of high-level directors from a specific CRM company tell me I was crazy. I said, well, I mean, we knew that, but I was like, this is what I'm going to do. If it doesn't work, I'll say it didn't work. So I have one dealership, John, that I wiped out every single task in their CRM. There is no follow-up. Nothing. So what I taught the internet sales department to do is work on the desk log by vehicle.
Fantastic.
And guess what?
They started selling cars, Stacey.
They started selling cars. And that CRM company sent me a giant box of stuff.
Awesome.
Here you go. But it is frustrating. I mean, even the CRMs that I customized, that I built, I log in sometimes and I'm like, this is horrible. Now I gotta change it again. So I've showed these dealers how, and you can do this in any CRM, to be honest. It's not effective as your all's tool at all, but I don't want to call, the 21-day-old phone lead that hasn't answered my calls before I call the day 2 lead that has inquired about the pre-owned Ford Explorer, and I have 19 other similar ones on the lot. Like, I want to do today what is going to make me money today and make my organization money today, not because a computer system told me to do it.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I wiped them out. Like, I mean, they still have some tasks in there, but they have no internet lead follow-up in there at all. And I've never been thanked so many times by that sales staff. They were like, this is amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So they're
Well, it's
selling about
overwhelming.
41 more cars a month out of that department since I took the tasks away.
That's fantastic,
Yeah.
Stacey.
Can we
that's
hop
huge,
back to
Stacey.
something for just a minute? Because Stacey, you said something that, and I had a perfect illustration just the other day. I was in a dealership training with 2 BDC reps that were sitting at the front desk. A gentleman walks in, and they ask him a couple of questions. Are you here to see someone? Yeah, I'm here to see Don. Oh, well, he left. He's retired. Is there anybody else that you? And he's like, well, I've also visited with so and so. And they were like, well, he's not here today. And he kind of, his body language that I picked up on was like, he wants to talk to somebody right now. And she says, well, I'll let him know when you come back in. And I was like, hold a minute. Hold on. I think that he would like to talk to someone right now. Is that right, sir? He said, yeah. And so when you said that we don't teach to listen, tone, intonation, if somebody's in front of you, what their body language is saying, how do you teach that? How do you train that? And how do you drill into that? The importance of not only listen. Well, I mean, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Right.
You should listen twice as much as you talk.
I'm still working on learning that part, but
yeah, but you also, there's so much that you can pick up by nonverbal communication, and how do you drill into that, and how do you teach that and recommend it?
So I had someone share this with me. I think it was back in 2015. One of the sales managers that I worked with, and he was fantastic. He's the one that taught me to listen with your eyes closed. So he said, have you guys ever been walking in the woods at night? You hear everything because you can't see it. But during the day, you may not hear as much because you can see everything. So that's where that started. So when I train on it, again, it is 1,000 times easier to do it with recorded phone calls. If not, we can do it, remote training or in person. But I kind of change my tone of voice and say, okay, that tone of voice, this, and make like a basic cheat sheet. And then that's just continuing training.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, because at first people don't know. So I may give you an answer where I'm like this. And I'm like, did you hear the little high pitch? Did you hear, like I was almost flinching?
Mm-hmm.
So it's challenging, but it can be done and it needs to be done. And the recorded phone calls are your best bet.
All right.
Best bet. Because in the recorded phone calls, you can hear the awkward silence. It's just, the most transparent coaching tool we could ever have is the recorded phone calls.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Only do so much role play with tones of voices and listening cues.
Right.
And I've just found when you do that, it helps a little bit, but both parties get a little frustrated because you can't actually hear. It's,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. For
Gosh, Stacey, did I mention how amazing you are? Did I mention that?
You put that in writing, Chris.
I vote that we make her a co-host.
Right? As a matter of fact, you can take my spot, please. My goodness.
It's just, it comes down to you guys truly want to help dealers. That's all we want to do is truly help dealers. There's a lot of people out there in a lot of positions that just want to check. They just want a title that, John will tell you, you scroll down my Facebook, you don't know what I do for a living. It's just my dogs and, we just want to help people. And I think that I have came up with these processes and developed them and taken the advice of this great person and made it my own out of frustration. I was frustrated. We can't find good people. Well, why were you just putting a butt in a seat for the first person that nailed an interview? And then you get mad at that person because they weren't right because you didn't put the work into them.
Right.
Or this person's not doing what I asked and there's no continuing training. There's always a reason behind it. Now, sometimes a behavior issue, sure. But if I can put the work into something now to make my life and job a lot easier in 3 to 4 months, and I could just sit back then, why wouldn't I do that?
Sure.
Because what you have now is a revolving door of insanity. It's just, I got a phone call this morning. So-and-so was 20 minutes late for work. Do you know what I text back? Okay.
What do you want me to do about it? Hey, I can't get the famous phrase, Chris and Ronaldo, Stacey, I know you've heard it. I can't get my people to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
a manager at a dealership.
Oh no, a dealer principal.
Yeah. And listen, I don't want to alienate people out there. I would, as Stacey said, listen, we want to help people, right? But man, you got to think about that when you hear that statement come out. You got to think about that for a minute and go, what did I just say? I can't get my people to do that. So
I think it's with anything in life. You're going to get in, you're going to get out what you put in.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You can't eat healthy for a couple of days once a month and then complain because you feel like crap or you put on a few pounds, because I'm just going to give you the look. Like, I have a look that says, well, you did it to yourself and you get no sympathy from me.
Yeah.
But if you put the work in now, and what these dealers have to understand is there are so many free resources out there right now. I will type all of this up and send it to anybody for free. Do you know why? Because only 2 out of 10 will use it.
Take you up on it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I'll give it to you for free. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Well, John, when they tell us they can't get their people to do something, they always follow that up with, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always follow up with, if you put salt in his oats, he'll drink water all day long.
Yes.
So you just got to be that one piece of motivation.
Yeah.
That builds that seed in their mind that, you know what, I need to drink water today.
And the accountability. It goes back to the employee grading forms and this, that, and you do those. Your job at the end of the month is done for you in a nice little file folder.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Well, I can tell you, Stacey, I mean, this is some of these things we talked about. It's like trying to take a sweater and put it on a python. It just doesn't make a lick of sense. But you know what? Everything that you've brought us today, number one, thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
It's priceless. It's completely priceless. Now, for our listeners out there, for our viewers, booth 1219 at NADA we have got Stacey is going to come join us 1, maybe 2, maybe even all 3 days. They're at NADA 2025 down in New Orleans. Stacey's going to come join us. She's going to sit on the hot seat. Some of these best practices she's been talking about, some of these what may seem like unorthodox, but really basic 101 things. She's going to be at our booth at NADA, booth 1219. I encourage, follow our scheduling. We're going to have it posted exactly when she is going to spend time with us. But if you're watching this, if you have any questions between now and NADA, if you want to connect with Stacey, which we highly encourage that you do, drop your information in the comment section below. We'll get you and Stacey connected. You done heard her. She'll give it to you at no charge. Let's really and truly, guys, let's take 2025. Let's make a change. And let's make a change for the basic fundamentals that have been done in this industry since John Anderson was selling Model Ts. Let's go back to that and let's take the suck out of it. Let's work the facts. Let's take the facts and put them over the feelings. And each and every week, every Tuesday, right here, same time, same channel, you can catch more of that same information because as Stacey called it out, and thank you, Stacey, for that, we just want to help our community out, our automotive brothers and sisters. We want to help you out. We're doing this at no charge. Take it, use it, apply it. I'm Chris Keene, one of your co-hosts of LotTalk, powered by Lotpop. On behalf of John Anderson, Ronaldo Leonard, and the wonderful Stacey Ellison, we thank you for tuning in, and we can't wait to catch you next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel, and we can't wait to see you at NADA 2025, booth 1219. Thank you all. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ronaldo. You guys have a great
And
one.
in the words of Chris Keene, Stacey, that was stronger than a garlic milkshake. Thanks for joining.
Yes,
Love
it was.
Love it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.